Hi, welcome to QOTPOD. As you can tell, we've gone Greek. This is a really exciting one for me. And I'm going to introduce my guest fairly quickly. But before I do, I want to explain how we got together. He actually contacted me via LinkedIn and asked a little bit about the Exeter City club and the trust and how we've done things because he supports a club in Greece. So firstly, can I introduce Gus Karagiannis? Did I say that right?
That's good. That's good. Karagiannis, actually, but you came very close.
I really should practice that. I'm sorry. So, and can I just say, Gus, I'm really delighted to say that you are the 6th country I make it in 24 episodes that we've reached, which is one of the things that we're trying to do. So we've done USA, Spain, Scotland, Australia, Japan, and now yourself. And it's really important to Exeter fans that we get to a Greek football club. And it was a perfect thing because we are the Grecians, right? We have strong links with Greece. In fact, we've got a team presently in Andros, and they're doing a football tournament as we speak. And they have been they're doing that for about 20 years. So welcome to the show. And I'm going to ask you to say what football club you support, because I don't think I can say it very well.
All right. The team name is Panachaika FC 1891.
Thank you so much. And the team, I believe, plays in the championship within
the equivalent of the championship. Yeah, second division.
Brilliant. And in terms of contextualizing a little bit about the team, I quite like your colours. They're red, black with a little bit of white. Although I would say, if football fans, it's more like Bournemouth, AFC
Yes.
Bournemouth.
Yes.
And it's got a stripe, which is a bit like the Crystal Palace red and blue band going from the top of the shoulder down to the waist in red and black, which, by the way, I love. Welcome to the show. Or could you explain a little bit about your club, right? And I think you've got an interesting story related to shirts. Is that correct?
Yes. Our club was founded in 1891. It's one of the first historical football teams within Greece.
Really?
So, whenever a lot of people start thinking about the good old days, our team always pops up in the conversations. Up until about 2000, the club was playing predominantly in the Premier League, and then afterwards it started going, up and down, Premier League Championship. Yeah. And now they've been away from the Premier League for about 22 years. So, it's the fans are very, very, very disappointed. They want to see their club back again playing with the big guys.
Yeah.
And, they've been through a couple of turbulent years, let's say, regarding directors, regarding people that are coming in as potential investors for the club.
Yeah.
And all this turbulence caused a little bit of a distrust factor, let's say. So the fans feel that they've been conned, let's say, or, they've been manipulated, let's say. And this is kind of like backfiring on the current directors right now, which are trying to do the best that they can.
And I need to caveat something for you. And by the way, Gus asked me to do this a little bit before the podcast, right? So we're not going to go into a lot of detail related to where the club is for reasons that Exeter fans will understand, because some of it's, how can I say, complex, and some of it is sensitive in terms of what's trying to be achieved. And he was very clear to me that, he's going to talk about it, but we're going to do it at a very sensible level, shall we say?
Yes.
Because I know that you're involved in some of the things going on, aren't you? So
yes.
Yeah. So sorry. I should have caveated
that.
I should have done that at the start. So
for the people that are listening and viewing eventually, just to give them a little bit of background, is that I'm a consultant, sports marketing consultant, and I've been working with the club right now directly. Even though I'm a fan of the club, I've been working directly with the club for the past 2 years. And, I've helped develop some of the strategies that have been involved over the past 2 years. Brilliant. And how we can start moving forward. And that's how my involvement is with the club. Okay. It's not just because that I'm a supporter, but I'm also, trying on a consultancy side as well, too, to try and make things better for the club.
Yeah. And do you know what? That's really good to hear, because I know that we've spoken about Exeter City, and what I'm going to say. I turned around and said, look, you've got to get the right people involved, the people that care about the club, the people that want to do the right things. And I've done a little bit of research, and I've looked at your club, and I believe there's been a £200,000 euro bond, which has been an issue. Difficult times. Hear this one. This isn't a first. Difficulty paying wages. Interesting stuff and challenges that go with that. Exeter fans know that completely. Mm-hmm. They've been there. Now, you talked about points deductions. Now, I find this really interesting because just to give you a bit of context, Wigan Athletic today, an English football team, have just been deducted 8 points for the start of the new season. Mm-hmm. In Greece, they do it slightly differently. Do you want to explain where you are?
Yes. So what happens in Greece is if a club doesn't eventually fulfill a contract of a player, okay, that player has the right to take them to court, okay? Yeah. So when that player takes a club to court, and if the ruling is in favor of the player, the club gets an automatic deduction of points on the spot.
Wow.
And they've got a total of 5 days to pay off that player. And if they do, they get the points given back to them. If not, they don't pay it. The points remain deducted. So there's a couple of teams right now in the equivalent championship this year that had those kind of rulings.
Yeah.
And they didn't pay. So now they're out of the championship completely. It was a thing that they had to do, let's say. And the club that, that I'm supporting and I help out with this year, because we've incurred a lot of the debt from the previous club directors over the past, it's going back now even up to 15 years. This is insane, to be honest with you. I don't know how the Greek government allows this to happen, but it does.
Yeah.
We've got players coming from 2008, 2009. The current directors were never involved in it. But now that they're running the club, they have to abide by the rules. So this year, the club has been deducted a total of about 52 points, 53, somewhere around there.
Wow.
But we've managed so far every single time, the investment group that we have from the United States, and they're paying off these things. So the points eventually come back to us and the players get paid off eventually, even though they weren't contracted by the current directors, if that makes any sense. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that makes a load of sense. And I can imagine that's quite stressful. I can imagine it
is stressful because every single week you're getting 2 to 3 players coming out of the woodwork saying, I want my money.
Yeah.
And, there's no paperwork to show that. The only paperwork that they have is basically the lawsuit that player has done against the club a couple of years ago. You see what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting. At Exeter, we had just compare notes, right? We were 4.8 million in debt. But football creditors, there's a regulation that stipulates all football creditors needed to be paid. Mm-hmm. Let's not go through the history of how that was done.
Yeah.
Playing Man United in the FA Cup and getting very lucky, and some other monies that other people put together. But it was difficult. And not only that, there's stories that we've heard on this podcast of people taking the money out of amusement gambling machines, mm-hmm. and paying people as they arrive, because we have a bailiff system where somebody comes and demands money, and they've got certain legal powers to get the money. So, and I believe you've had a transfer bans and stuff. Is that?
Yes, we've had transfer bans, but every single time that you start paying off, you're allowed then afterwards to start making a few transfers. So we were fortunate at the beginning of the season to make quite a lot of transfers, but then we started getting bans on it, and it was a little bit difficult. So I think right now for next year, we're going to start off with a couple of bans. So we're not going to be able to get any new transfers. Right. We're only being allowed to acquire a certain selected amount of people that fit certain criteria, like under 19s, that kind of stuff.
That can work in your favor.
I know. I've expressed that right now to the group as well. I've told them that I really think that this is a golden opportunity for the club, because if we start investing a little bit more with local players and younger players, you're actually building the foundation. And that foundation then afterwards, because right now the majority of the club, there are people that are from outside of the city. So that means you're paying for rent, you're paying for accommodation, you're paying for food, you're paying for all that kind of stuff. Whereas you start hiring and start acquiring local talent, they live in the city. They're more accustomed to the city.
They've got a bit of a heart in them.
They've got a heart. And the thing is that, for every one player that's local, you're looking at about 10 to 15 season tickets from immediate friends and family. That's the logic that I've been trying to tell them right now.
And do you know what? I want to share one with you to help you with the logic. There's a player called Dean Moxey, which I will message to you after this, right? He is an Exeter lad, right? I think he made his debut when he was 17, right? We were the top of the non-league at the time. And sorry for context for Greek supporters, there's League Two, League One, which we're now in, the Championship, and then the Premier League. So we're in a third step. But at the time, we were in the fifth step. And he came, did well. He then got sold. He ended up playing for actually Crystal Palace, a football team with a similar kit. And he then came back, played for 3 or 4 years at the end of his career. And he's now one of our local clubs as a veteran player, finishing his career because he just wants to play football. So it can work for you. How do transfer fees work? Are they big in Greece or not?
Well, that's the thing. The thing is that you can get a decent player for relatively a good amount. It's not like anything happening with the Championship over here in the UK or Premier League or that kind of stuff. So like one of the highest player in the equivalent Championship in Greece will probably get about 120,000 euros. That's like the highest player. You get other players from like anywhere from 6,000 to 7,000 if you want.
Wow. What, to buy them?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. So that is probably, I know there's a lot of TV money in British football, but that's the equivalent of potentially non-league League Two levels for context. And so, for example, Exeter have sold, I'll get this wrong, players up to about, while they've been in the league, there's Ollie Watkins who plays for England, who went via Brentford to Aston Villa, and we sold him for just under £2 million. That's the context of it. So
that's what I've been trying to tell the club right now, is that if we get a local person and we develop them and they become to a point where they get sold to like the equivalent to the Premier League, you're looking at anywhere then that the club will probably get from that anywhere from 200,000 to 300,000, which is really good.
And get a sell-on clause on the profit from any club that comes to England. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And to give you an idea, and again, hopefully some Greek fans will listen to this. That's paid for a £3 million training ground at Exeter. But enough about us. How many fans do you get at a home game?
Well, roughly? This is the thing. The thing is that historically we have one of the biggest fan bases in Greece. All right.
Really?
Yeah. So there's the top 4 clubs, which is Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, AEK, and PAOK.
Yeah.
And, we're considered one of the big six because after PAOK, there's Aris. And then if you look at it by fans, it's our team.
Is that because the city, or those 190,000, has got a lot of urban areas near it? Because is it a big area?
No, it's yes and no. All right. So there are a lot of urban areas, and a lot of the people support the club from urban areas. But the thing is that it's the kind of equivalent to one city, one club.
Yeah.
So that one city, one club, that resonated in a lot of people following the club from many, many, many years back. And then as a generation started going and going, the fathers passed it on to their sons now are passing it on to their sons. And, that's how they're keeping the flame alive. And, before, when everything was good, let's say, I'll put it to you this way, when things were going really good and we had one of the biggest investors ever to come into the club, home games, you're averaging anywhere from 9 to 15,000 people.
Wow.
All right. Now, with everything that's going on, and again, as I mentioned, over the past 6 years, the club has been in very, very, very turbulent waters. Different directors, they feel that they've been cheated, let's say. It would be lucky if we get anywhere up to about 500-600 people showing up to the games.
500-600 people.
Yeah.
Wow. And how much do people pay to get in? I'm just curious.
The majority of the people are with season tickets. Anybody else will come in for 10 euros a ticket.
Right. Okay. So let's balance that. So it would be about 30 euros to go and stand at Exeter. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
About 23, 24 pounds. So it's a lot less money, but that's quite a change from the 500-600 up to 9,000. But that's so much.
But don't forget though that out of that 500-600 people, you're probably looking at cutting less than 100 tickets because the majority, as I said, are with season tickets. So out of that money that's coming in, you're basically not even covering your referee costs. You see what I mean?
Yeah, tough. And how big is the stadium?
The stadium fits about 11,000 people.
So, because I was looking at the stadium on Google Maps and couldn't quite work it out, because I think I know that sports are linked in Greece, aren't they? Like volleyball. You've got a volleyball part of the club, I think. Is that right?
We've got quite a lot of sports within the club. So there's boxing, basketball, volleyball, track and field, all that kind of stuff, and everything is under one roof. So it's all in one area.
Yeah.
We have an indoor basketball hall. We have boxing training areas underneath the stadium. So we're utilizing spaces under the stadium, and we've made them into gyms and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And as I mentioned, it's one of the most historical football grounds in Greece right now.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I would recommend is you need to promote that. For example, at Exeter, the season tickets are somewhere just perfect, and it's a play on the ground name, St James's Park, SJP. You've got some real potential there, and I really do wish you well with that. Now, could you explain the structure of the league? Because am I right in thinking in the top league there's about 14 clubs? Is that right?
In the equivalent of the Premier League, there is 14 clubs. Okay.
Yeah.
But then afterwards in the championship, and this has been going on for like the past 2-3 years now, they wanted to do it a little bit more of a European structure.
Yeah.
So now there's 2 groups. Each group has about 18 clubs. So there's 36 clubs competing. And out of the 36 clubs, up until last year, it was literally first place in your group gets automatic promotion to the Premier League.
Right.
And, it's kind of a little bit unfair, let's say, because now they're looking to reorganize the equivalent of the Premier League and add a few more clubs.
Yeah.
But the championship, they realized that, yes, they added quite a lot of development teams. So Olympiacos, Panathinaikos, PAOK, AEK, they've created, the B teams, let's say. So they're playing in these groups. But at the same time, though, the government, where they're giving you these bonds and they're saying that here's the money that we're going to give you for the year so that you can start making your budget. And you mentioned before 200,000. That's what it was actually 270,000. That's what the government said, that that's the money that you're going to get from us regarding your participation in the championship. Wow. And right now, after I don't know how many months, and the clubs even went on strike because they thought it was unfair, they're going to get the equivalent of 105,000. So think about this. So if you're a director of a club right now and you've been told guaranteed money 270 plus another guaranteed contract from television, you can start making some of your planning. You can start doing that.
Yeah, of course.
And then all of a sudden, from let's say 400,000,
all that money
is dropping down to 105,000. Somebody, because you budget out for all the money, somebody has to go ahead and pay for this.
Yeah.
And then if you put on top of that the operational expenses that are needed to run the club, plus the previous debt that we're incurred, you can see that it's a struggle to try and make ends meet right now. And the thing is that the directors right now, they want to be a little bit conservative in everything that they're doing, because they know, first of all, they know that, yes, they have incurred this debt, right? But the thing is, though, is that I think they were told that the debt was a certain amount in the beginning. And now, as it's starting to unravel, you're looking at, it's probably double, triple right now.
Wow.
And, all that right now shows the fans that, they feel, like I said, they feel like they've been cheated. And that's why they're turning their backs on the club right now.
And do you know what? That sense of community, that sense of volunteering to a cause, and again, just to give you an idea, apparently Exeter spend about £42,000 a week on wages, right? There's something I've seen. Some of the bigger clubs in the league, like Sheffield Wednesday, which you will have known of, I'm sure, are spending £180,000 a week, right? And actually, somebody's done an analysis of a chart, and that Exeter and one of the other smaller clubs is doing really well, pound for pound, as we call it, right? But some of the clubs are doing really, really bad. So, but it's like you say, it's down to the spread of TV money. I mean, the UK English football, I think it's 380,000, 490,000, 3.2 million, and then up to 25 million if you go to the Premier League. It's ridiculous.
It is, and that's the thing. The thing is that if you guys are lucky, I'll put it to you this way: you guys are a club right now that the supporters are getting behind it. That means you got participation coming to the home games. You have a little bit of revenue coming in every single. When you're going up against right now, you don't know how many people are going to show up at the games. Yeah, you know that the fans have openly said that we're not following you this year, even though we love the team. We're not going to be supporting coming to the home games. And when one person acts as an influencer, it goes against everybody else as well too. So we're in a little bit of a difficult situation, but we understand the stance that the fans are taking.
Yeah.
And it's not that we're trying to do it. We're trying to accommodate everybody. And they see that, first of all, things would have been even worse right now if the club hadn't paid off these debts and the points were deducted, because automatically they would have been relegated to the lower division.
Yeah.
So right now they know that this year, with a few transfers that we did, we were up until a couple of weeks ago, we were still in the top places looking for promotion to the Premier League.
Really?
Yeah, and things started unraveling then
And,
afterwards,
and,
and
and that's based on 600 attendances at home.
yep,
Is that right?
yep,
Wow, you've done really
and
well. Where did you
and
finish?
and no, and literally, when I mean literally, um, maybe 3 or 4 local sponsors, and they're not giving massive amounts of money. All right.
Yeah,
So, when in 2015, when there was one group of directors, they came into the club, these were 15 businessmen from the city. Everyone was really like successful in their area, what they were
yeah,
doing. And they decided that, we're going to make a coalition, let's say, and we're going to support the club. We're going to take it back to the Premier League. That's what the original vision was.
yeah,
They approached me so we can do so I can develop the strategy for them. And I heard them out. I actually was working at the time with a couple of the people. They were some of my clients. So they made an introduction to me, let's say that, let's talk to Gus and get his feedback on it. And when I was presented the overall vision, in the beginning, I was really excited about it. I liked it. But as I was listening more and more and more during that conversation, I realized that, wait a minute, you guys are 15 people. You guys are going to have 15 different opinions. There's going to be 15 different decision makers.
yeah,
What's going to, do you guys have a front man? I go, do you guys have one person that's going to be making the decision? Because I go, I did an analogy and I said to everybody, I'm like, quick little test on the count of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I say 5, I want everybody in the room, and there's 4 people in there. So 4 people and myself. And I'm like, I want everybody to tell me on the count of 5 what they want to have to eat right now. You can order anything you want right now, but what do you want to eat right now?
yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4,
It'll be
5.
different. It'll be different. Yeah,
One person said pizza, the other person said spaghetti, the other person said steak, and I looked at him and I said, we're 5 people and we can't decide what we're going to eat tonight. How are you guys going to deal with 15 different people regarding transfers, regarding development, regarding
yeah.
structure?
Do you know
And
what? It's painful,
it is.
and do you know what? Even today, I've seen some social media of going, "Oh, we're going to struggle to get players. Oh, we should get a investor. We should change from being a fans-run club, right?" And those people, I'm just like looking at them, going, "Yes, I know that our structure is a little bit slow sometimes,
Mhm.
right?" But just so you understand, we have the trust, as you know, I've sent you the
Yeah, yeah.
details. We meet, the trust meets 12 times a year. They vote on stuff with the members. There's electronic voting of the 3,800, 4,000 members, whatever it is at the moment, roughly, right, on bigger issues. But within the meetings, they discuss, and it has to be, and it's done so there's a majority. So it has to be a majority decision. And then there's 3 people, I think, goes onto the club board, because there's still some people, shall we say, on our club board that feel that they are owners of the club when they're not. And there's only, I think, 5 of them. And then there's a decision. And then worst case scenario, the chairman of the trust, who is also chairman of the club, has the casting vote. So that person has to go back to the supporters and say, well, the 3,800 people, I voted for this because, right? So the likelihood of them doing anything too dynamic and radical is probably not going to happen. It's a bit slow, but actually 20 years on, in a great place. So I would recommend that you guys have a look at that and think about it.
Well, that's the one thing that I wanted to tell you is that since we last spoke, I was looking on my social media feeds, and all of a sudden, I see that a group of fans, and right now there's over 200 of them, they formed a not-for-profit organization.
Fabulous.
And they haven't figured out anything regarding memberships or pricing models and that kind of stuff. And they don't know they haven't figured out yet, like, are we going to charge our members anything? Basically, they want to be an acting voice to the directors. They want to start. For them right now, we're doing this as fans because we love the club. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Secondly, we want to express our opinions before they actually start making some decisions, because, over the past years, it's shown that we have allowed people to make decisions, and the decisions have worked not in the club's favor.
Yeah.
So it's a nice gesture from them. And, again, I don't know how they're going to operate, and I don't know what they're planning on doing.
Yeah.
What I did, because I know some of the people in this new not-for-profit, I sent them the link regarding Exeter and the fans, and I said, have a look at this, see what they've done, and try and replicate it in such a way that we can mimic that if possible. You see what I mean?
Well, I'll lay you a promise now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You send me the details, and if I'm able to join, I will join, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I will also get the Exeter City Supporters Trust to join,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you think that's a bit weird, don't worry. We're SC Chattanooga in America. We've done exactly the same thing.
No. I don't think it's weird. Don't worry.
And that can be really helpful, because in effect, if that independent person who stepped back can actually turn around and maybe just help and say, look, guys and girls, you want spaghetti, you want pizza, you want steak, pizza. Do you know what? It looks like it's pizza, right?
Mm-hmm.
And try and get that decision made.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to help with that.
All right.
I didn't realize you'd done that.
I'm telling you, I didn't know about it either, and I just saw it one day. And they've created logos, they've created everything, websites, and
brilliant.
I got in touch with the founder of it because it was a friend of mine. I'm like, what actually is your goal plan? What is that you guys want to achieve with this? He's like, basically, we want to try and do whatever's possible to avoid being in these kind of circumstances again.
Can I make one suggestion about
it?
Right. And it's there are still 20 years on, a few wounds, shall we say, of people like, well, I was never involved at the start. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we've got season ticket holders that believe that they are season ticket holders. They're not going to be members of the trust, right? Which is their choice, whatever. Yeah. So, and they're not connected. The best thing to do is really is like Gandhi almost, is just stay really open and actually reach out to people. Supporters clubs, wherever it might be. It might be an English pub, in our example, a group of people, and just say, look, and they might take 3 years to come back to you, right?
Yeah.
But when they do, don't, and you know what I'm saying, just be sensible about it.
Look, I'll put it to you this way: the fans that we have, they love the club, and they'll support it to death. Meaning they'll try their hardest to keep following it. Whenever it's humanly possible, they will go out and they will travel to go see the club. And I think it was in January. They went and played against the team that's probably going to go to the Greek Premier League. And, they traveled away. It was a game in Athens, so it was a 2-hour drive. All right.
Right.
And the home team, that are competitors, they had about 200 fans, and we had about 600 fans show up from our side, travel to the game.
Wow. Right? Brilliant.
And the thing is that, we lost hands down 3-0. But at the end, the team and the coaches and everybody went to the supporters side and, gave them a standing ovation and saying, thank you for coming and supporting us.
Yeah.
And the fans replicate, their reciprocity on that. And they were cheering they did specific like chants, let's say, and they were doing certain claps and everything. And the thing is that went viral. So it got picked up by national TV saying the fans of Panachaika are eventually coming back. And they tried to promote it on the Greek national news that this is a way that fans should always be for football.
Correct.
So, we try and do the best that we can. We're cooking with the ingredients that we have. That's the main thing. All right. Ideally, you want to make a 4-star, Michelin star meal. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, you have to look and see like, all right, I'd like to make X, Y, and Z, but I only have ingredients to make X. Let's try and make X as tasty as possible.
Do you know what? We're exactly the same. There are I'm going to say 2 or 3 football clubs out of the English 92 that are known for being a bit crazy. Mm-hmm. And just, it's interesting you were talking about fans travelling, right? Mm-hmm. And I know with the motorways in England and the tribalism and the fact that it is our national sport, and Exeter is in quite a remote location. So it's not unheard of for us to have, in a season, a 5-hour drive to a match, right? Mm-hmm. Or a train journey. And so, for example, picture the scene. We're mid-table. We're going away to Ipswich Town, who've just got promoted as champions. Final day in front of, they're a big club. They won the UEFA Cup twice. Mm-hmm. They had about 30,000 at home, right? The journey was 5 hours, right? We had nothing to play for. We knew we were going to get beaten, probably, right? And there was just under 1,000 extra fans there, right? And I'm not trying to score points. It's a bit, the rivalry in English football's amazing, as you know, you live here. But the point about it is, we've been in places where we knew we were going to get beaten heavily, and it's almost become like a badge of honor now. It's you follow football your way, we follow football our way. And if you've got the opportunity to get back to those 9,000 to 15,000 home crowds, right? That social messaging of, we're going to be a bit different, but we're coming back. It will take us 10 years, but we are coming back.
When the new group of directors came in last year, they were playing in the equivalent to Football League One, so it was the 3rd division. We did a press conference in the beginning, and we analyzed basically an action plan of what we want to do and how we want to do it. And from my side, where I was looking after some of the marketing and the commercial stuff, we presented basically our vision of where we want to see the club. And we said that we're going to try and do one thing. We're going to try and structure it in a more professional way that it's ever been run. So that way we can start leaving a little bit of a foundation, let's say, for anybody else that, at one point, eventually, anybody that's involved in the club right now, they're going to eventually go away at one point. Okay. Let's just say even if they're there for 50 years, at one point they're going to exit the world. So, but if they put down the foundations and they leave something as a legacy, the other people that are going to come in at any point, they're going to find something and can start developing on that. So last year, I'll give you an example. Even though we were in the equivalent of Football League One, where there was no government bonds, there was no TV contracts, there was nothing. All right. We decided to look at doing something a little bit different. So I started off a pay-per-view TV channel for all the home games, and it was an extra source of income. And we were the only team in Greece that had the pay-per-view model, and because everyone was just doing a live stream, putting it out on their YouTube channel, everyone was watching it for free.
Yeah, I get it.
I had teams from the equivalent Premier League saying, "How did you guys manage to do this?" And I explained
Innovation.
it. I'm like, look, I'm like, it's if you put your mind to it that you want to do it, you can actually do it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we did, which is very, very innovative, was we created an online e-shop, but we did everything on print on demand. So, we're not, what do you call that? So basically what that did is that from the very first order, the club started making profit. To this day, the club has never paid for a single T-shirt to be printed and have as a stock.
Do you know what? I love that. And do you know what? It's what I think we could talk for hours. I'm conscious of your time because
I've got about another 15, 20 minutes.
I know that you've got a meeting coming up. And what I'm going to suggest, right, because there's obviously more to come on this. Mm-hmm. So I would like to suggest that we do another one in about 2 months, right, mm-hmm. 8 weeks, right, of this. We carry on a few bits of this conversation because we're not going to get through and do this justice today. We're really not, right? And we could talk about Greek football as well in general, yes. About the national team.
That's not a problem.
But as I say, I know that you've got a session. I'm going to say, look, you need any help at any time, a meeting, even flying to Greece, right? Mm-hmm. Have a conversation with somebody. Give me some notice. I'll quite happily do it, right? Because mm-hmm. I'm, as you can tell, really passionate about fans football clubs. That's why we do the podcast.
Well, that's why I reached out to you when I saw your post that you did on LinkedIn and you explained the story of it. I to be honest with you, I didn't know the history of Exeter and what was happening. And when I saw that post, I was like, wow, so that's why I reached out. And thankfully, we got in touch right now and we're sharing ideas and stories and everything.
Yeah.
And, for us, the fans right now, the fans, they're impatient, our fans. They want to go back to the way things were, but I'm trying to tell them slow and steady wins the race. You got to learn to crawl before you can stand up and start walking.
Do you know what?
They want to run the marathon right away. They can't do that. That's what I'm trying to tell them in a nice way.
Some people at our club think I'm that person that wants us to sprint. So because I agree with you. Do you know what? Honestly, I can't say how much I've enjoyed doing this podcast. It is going to go down as one of my all-time favorites. I've done 24.
Thank you very much. But I'll be honest with you. We haven't scratched anything yet because we've done. The club right now over the past 2 years have done some really, really innovative stuff. I mean, we've got praises from the equivalent championship. We've got praises from clubs in the Premier League because whenever we decided to do something, my logic is, and this the logic that I pass on to the club is, I'll see the competitors and I'll see what they're doing. I'll take my hats off to them. Whenever we do something, we try and do something original. We try and do something that has never been done before. Yeah. And, when we introduced for the season for this year, we introduced 6 home T-shirts, 6 kits, basically.
I love that. And I'm going to hold you there, right? Because we've spoken about these 6 kits. And by the way, this sounds rude from me, but it's not, because I know Gus has got stuff to do, right? We are going to do another session and we're going to start with the 6 shirts, but because it's a bit of a keep you hanging moment, because I'm going to say it's not 6 shirts, is it? So it's more than that.
It's a story. Right? It's a story. It's a story that involves fans, players, the club, everything. And our fans adopted it and they loved it, basically.
And you know what? I'll do it. I'll do something for you. When we next come on, I'm going to bring in, I think, maybe one other person on. All right. And we're going to talk about innovation stuff. Okay. And because I think it's great to have partnerships in different places. And I know that we haven't scratched the surface yet. So And actually, we're not going to do it in 8 weeks. We're going to do it in the next month, if that's all right with you.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, because this is only the second time in QOTPOD history that we've done a double episode about something. One was one of our all-time favourite strikers, and one was about your team. So thank you so far. Loved it. And as I say, you need any help at any time, you call me, message me, and I'll get you the information.
You got it. That's not a problem. Then thank you again for having me. And I just hope that your listeners and everything, they like what they're hearing so far. I mean, like I said, we're passionate. We want to do something, and right now, I'm seeing it with the fans that, for them it's like enough's enough. They wanna try and get in. They don't have the money personally, like, to go out and say, I'm going to become the investor of the club and we're going to make transfers and we're going to invest in training. They don't have that kind of money. What they do have is millions and millions of equivalent euros in passion.
Look, I disagree with you there, and we'll talk about that because they said that to us 20 years ago. We've now got £1 million in a reserve bank account.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing, though, with England, though. England, though, there's a different thing that, wages are a little bit different. Greek minimum wages right now are less than 300, 400 euros. So it's a little bit difficult about how they're going to start spending and that kind of stuff. But if something gets in place, instead of getting the majority of the fans behind it, a few people will get behind it in the beginning, but it'll be the kickstart so it can eventually start going and going.
I agree. And on that note, I'm going to thank you for coming on, right? By the way, I'm going to suggest we do it within a month, which I'll explain offline in a minute when we finish today. I'm so excited that there's going to be a next episode because I knew this was going to be good, and I knew you were a little bit nervous about doing it. Yeah. Thank you for coming on. Right, and I'm just going to do a couple of shout outs, and you'll understand this. To the guys at Andros, hope you're having a great time. Please do send out the social media of your matches over there. Hope you're playing well for England against Greece, if you know what I'm saying. Although they have won a European Championship in recent history, and we haven't. I'm also going to put, and I haven't done this before, I'm going to put a shout out to a lad called Austin from Thetford in Suffolk, I think it is, Thetford Bulldogs, right? He was a youth footballer that ended up becoming very poorly and is presently in hospital. And I've just seen it come up on social media. So a little shout out, get well to him, because I've got a 13-year-old boy and it must be horrible. Yeah. So Gus, thanks for your time.
Don't worry. Thank you.
Episode 2 is coming up. Watch this space.
Okay. All right. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.